This PAX update is brought to you by Netflix.
Hello, everyone. It's the three of us. Day 2 of our time here at PAX, which does not stand for the Pax Romana, the period of peace under Emperor Augustus. It's actually for the Penny Arcade Expo. What did you guys? I think we started with Tara last time. So what stood out to you today?
I don't have any time to prepare myself. I went to the Sony booth. I kind of went there yesterday, but there were a couple games I wanted to check out. One was Tearaway, which I got a little bit of time with yesterday. It is so endearing, and I noticed a pattern. Tearaway, Hohokum, and Puppeteer all have this kind of children's book kind of vibe to them. In like a very Hohokum is a game where you're like a little sort of rainbow snake squid thing, and you just fly around and you kind of make things happen. And it's not particularly a game. It kind of feels like a little bit of an interactive abstract art thing, kind of in the same lines as Proteus maybe. And those are both coming to Vita, which is a very kind of it's one of those things. People are going to get mad. They're going to be like, that's not a game, which is okay. It's still a cool thing you can play on your Vita. Puppeteer, on the other hand, that's a game. And that is, from what I'd seen, I was kind of underwhelmed. It looks sort of like Little Big Planet again. That has a very dark vibe. It is an extremely dark game. It reminds me a lot of James and the Giant Peach, the stop-motion movie, and also just kind of stuff in movies that was scary as a kid, like the bat in the baby carriage in Great Mouse Detective, or that guy in the beginning of Aladdin. It's got this kind of like weird dark fairy tale vibe to it. And it's very interesting. So suddenly I'm interested in that. And then Tearaway is just the most genuinely adorable and endearing game I've seen in quite some time. So all of those make me very excited. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe someday I'm going to show these to my kids. You know, it's...
Tearaway also, when you suddenly realize that how you're looking at your finger and it's entering into the world, it's just such a subtle little thing like that. Just I'm like, okay, this game comes alive for me. Tara, what about you?
Well, I have to echo what Max said about Hohokum, which is just super awesome. I can't imagine anybody like not being interested in that game, even though there's basically no point to it whatsoever.
I mean, there's cranky people and they probably like dirt and eating worms.
We don't like those people. But today I saw LocoCycle, which I had never actually gone hands-on with it before. And I played it on the Xbox One, which is not something I'd ever used before. So that was neat. It's a lot more arcadey than I was expecting. I was sort of expecting it to be just sort of a straightforward driving game, maybe with some combat mixed in. But it's interesting how they change perspectives a lot, so it's not like you're just driving on one road the whole time. Like, there's a lot of obstacles in the way. The combat's really cool. They do this
explain what the combat is, because it's not the combat you would think if there's a game about a motorcycle.
No, I mean, there'll be cars and motorcycles in front of you, and you have, like, the option to shoot. That's one of the power-ups that you get. There's various power-ups in the game. You can also, like, guys will just sort of fly in from the top. And it's interesting because it basically is a quick time event where they'll come in, it'll sort of go slow motion, and then a circle will appear, and when the circle appears, you have to counterattack. But it doesn't feel like a quick time event because of the way that they present it.
But just to back this up, LocoCycle is a game where you play as the motorcycle and you use your rider as a weapon, correct?
Yes. It's almost like a fighting game that's on the road. It's very, very creative and inventive.
I need to check that out. That sounds messed up. What'd you see, Adam?
What stood out to me, I think, also because I just played it, was Super Time Force from Cappy Games. It was one of those really nice moments where, like, I was struggling for about the first 4 or 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, they told me this was hard, and then that moment of aha. I get it. Yeah. You're going back, you're creating more characters, so you can get through the level faster and more efficiently. And there's just those moments where when you do things right, it just tells you it feels good.
Yeah, I think I played that at PAX last year, and I've heard that the game has changed a little bit since then. I'm not quite sure how.
I mean, I think it's gotten much bigger. You can now play as a piece of poo.
Sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah, you can play. And there's a dinosaur wearing sunglasses that rides a skateboard.
What kind of shirt is he wearing?
Hawaiian shirt. Yeah. It's your kind of game. It's one of those, and we've seen this, I think with a game like Broforce from last week when we were streaming it, that they're so kind of silly and anarchic that you don't think that, like, someone's really put a lot of thought and depth into it. No, when you start to look at how the Super Time Force game works, there's quite a bit of skill has gone into the creating of it.
I think the thing is when games are being made, there's so much thought and so much process that has to happen that things that might seem funny on a whim they frequently get kind of sanded down and rough corners get rubbed off. But it seems like Cappy really knows. Like, let's leave the stupid dinosaur in there.
Yeah, I mean, it started as a game jam, and it looks like, I forgot to ask him what ideas were left on the table, because when you have dinosaurs on skateboards and poo, I don't know if I want to know what they thought was too much. One other thing that we can now talk about, we saw it, all three of us together, was Dragon Age Inquisition, which I think we were all prepared for one thing and kind of saw something a little bit different.
Yeah, you can definitely see the influences from Skyrim there. I mean, it's massive. Like, the game obviously looks gorgeous because it's next gen, but it looks so different from Dragon Age, and that's probably what makes me more interested in this than any other Dragon Age game.
Yeah, I gotta say, I went in with kind of guarded expectations, and I was blown completely out of the water. It's not quite a full open world game. It's actually kind of an open worlds game. Yeah. They've got these giant, huge maps where everything is seamless. Like, you go into caves and there's no loading screen or anything, and then you go to different kind of areas. And they were saying that one thing that they had the luxury of doing with this is having separate maps, is that they don't have to make it, if you're going from like a swamp to the mountains, they don't have to kind of find a way to make that logically. I mean, we saw like a kind of forest lake area, and then we saw like this crazy desert where there's weird bogs of gas and things.
It's two things that I never really cared for in both of the Dragon Age was kind of the bland fantasy world that they were putting it in. In the first one, it was fantasy world, and the second one was city. And this seems to have a lot of imagination and interest. It feels like what you kind of want out of a fantasy game.
How about the combat?
Yeah, and the combat, seems similar to 2, but it seems that they made a game to work with that combat, which is another huge problem I had with Dragon Age 2.
Yeah, well, they've added all these, there's this tactical overview now, so there's like this whole tactical element to the gameplay that wasn't there before, and it's on Frostbite 3 now, so the destructible environments actually become a very big part of the game, I think.
Yeah, the return of the top-down tactical map. There are elements of Dragon Age 2 where I knew it could be done if I could just get to that perspective, and that's very exciting.
I think it very much is kind of a little bit of VATS from Fallout in there. It's like you have the option to play real time or to just kind of really pace yourself, and that's appealing. You know.
So look at that. Who knew that we were going to go to PAX Next and get excited about a Dragon Age game? But it looks like that's the case. There's a lot more stuff that is up on the site coming from PAX. More will be coming soon. So in the meantime, until you want to hear our thoughts for tomorrow, go check it out.
Let's take a moment and thank our sponsor, Netflix. Netflix lets you stream your favorite movies and shows straight to your home without having to deal with one of those pesky cable companies. As long as you have an internet connection and a Netflix-enabled device, you're good to go. You can support Rev3 games and sign up for a free trial membership by heading to netflix.com/Rev3games.